welcome back. This is Pastor Justin with Calvary Chapel RV Travelers. We're in Cody, Wyoming. It is the 29th of June, and it's a beautiful day today here. It's been pretty windy lately, but beautiful day, and I just wanted to sit down and do a video. I haven't done a video like this in a while, but I was listening to Chuck Smith's podcast in Genesis, and I realized Genesis 6, 7, and 8 is significant to numbers that are in the Bible. Now, I'm not talking about the book of Numbers, but what I'm talking about is numbers have a lot of specific things to do with the Bible, okay? And so, like in Genesis chapter 6, it's interesting that in that chapter, it talks about the wickedness of man. And we know the number of 6 is the number of man. It's also Satan's number, 666. And so I wanted to read you a little bit of Genesis chapter 6. And if you go to verse 5, it says, "Then the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart." Now, some people say, well, then God isn't all-knowing if he didn't know that man was going to be evil. This is one of those controversial scriptures in the Bible that people like to use to discredit God and things like that. Don't worry about that. God knew exactly what was going to happen, but what he does is he brings it down to our level, okay? And so if we look here in the commentary, it says, "This language is what theologians call arthropathic." I can't pronounce it. That is, the Lord is described as having human emotions. In these words, we sense the passion of the Lord. He had desired so much from humanity, and there was overwhelming disappointment. Obviously, he knew what was going to happen ahead of time. But the thing is he's having this empathy and this compassion for those that are serving him, which who was serving him at that time? Noah. That was it. And so I think he wasn't disappointed in the fact that he knew that man was going to go this way, because he did know. But it's kind of hard to put the thoughts of God on paper so that we can understand. And so, and we could go on and on and on and with that and get pretty deep with it, but it's just, we don't have the time today, okay? Now, if we go into chapter 7, now we know that the number 7 is perfection. And some will argue that it's completion and things like that, but it's interesting that the number 7 is perfection here, at least, because what happens is that is the chapter of the great flood. And what God does is he's tired of the wickedness of man. They were given in marriage, drinking and having parties all the time. And they were marrying multiple people. They were marrying out of their tribes and things that they weren't supposed to be doing, okay? And people were having sex with everybody, and it was just an extremely immoral time, kind of like today. And so God had enough, and he decided to wipe off all that and bring the world back into perfection, because we know that the world is perfect without man, okay? Man is the one that screws it up, okay? The animals are actually perfect. They are doing what they're supposed to. There's a circle of life. They have an instinct, and they're not sinful because they don't have really sin in their life. We think they're sinful because they attack us and they attack each other, and there's anger there, but they have that animal instinct. So when man is on the earth, it's imperfect. Okay, so what God does is he brings a great flood on the earth and wipes out the imperfect. Now, he finds one a family. He finds Noah that is right in his eyes, and he spares him, asks him to bring on, to build an ark, which takes them 120 years. And think about that, 120 years. I think I'd probably lose interest in about 3 or 4 months because of my attention span. And to top it all off, there had never been rain that fell on the earth at that time. And so when God's telling me, Justin, build this ark because I'm going to make it rain on the earth, and I'm like, well, what? You're going to, water's going to come out of the sky and it's going to come up from the ground? Okay. But I think that, probably in the 50th or 60th year when I'm building this thing, I'm thinking, am I really doing the right thing? Did I hear right from God? Well, Noah obeys him, and he builds this gigantic ark. He takes 2 of every unclean animal on the ark, and 7, each of their kind, male and female, and brings them on the ark. Now, we hear the stories about 2 by 2, and that's true to a point, but if you keep reading, it says that God brought 7 of the clean animals because they couldn't sacrifice unclean animals unto the Lord. So what's your unclean animal? It's anything that has a hoof, like a goat or a pig, things like that. And so if they would have brought only 2 by 2, 2 of everything, male and female, once they came off the ark and they sacrificed, which is one of the first things they did, they built an altar to the Lord and sacrificed, then that species would have been gone off of the earth. So it makes perfect sense that God brought 7, okay, because that's the number of perfection, okay? And so he brings these animals on the ark, and he's probably thinking, is this still a crazy thing? 7 days before the rains and everything flood, God closes the door, okay? And then this happens. And so then God wipes off all the evil from the earth. And in chapter 8, the floods are done. It's complete, okay? And the waters recede. And it says here that the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And that's in verse 2 of chapter 8. Verse 3 says, and the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters ceased, or decreased. Verse 4, then the ark rested in the 7th month, which is cool, the 17th day of the month on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. So everything was complete by chapter 8. Now we know that the Bible wasn't written in chapters, but they were arranged that way. And I just thought it was really neat. So when you're trying to remember, when did the flood come around? Well, remember, chapter 6 is the wickedness of man. Chapter 7 is the flood to bring the world back into perfection. And chapter 8 is when the waters stopped pouring out of heaven and stopped raining, and it was complete. All right, pretty cool, huh? Well, anyways, I thought I'd share that with you, something I discovered. I've been studying the Word of God for 35 years plus, and I'm always finding something new. And every time I find something new, I want to share it with you, okay? So God bless, and have a great day.